It's obvious here that some of the white Mississippians who are watching this march have more hatred or dislike for the white civil rights participants than for the Negroes themselves. And one of those white people taking part is Anna Bart of Atlanta by way of Chicago. Anna, how does it feel to know that some of these white people who are watching the march hate you even more than the Negroes who are marching?
Yes, I've been told that that's so, and I think it's unfortunate that when you come down and work in civil rights, you often work in one society only. You work in the Negro society, and you don't find the possibility of reaching out to those whites who would perhaps feel a tendency to come and help support the cause.
Don't you have some fear about being here?
I think that if you're going to die or get hurt, that can happen to you anywhere, and I don't think I have fear.
You getting any heckling, any jeers from the white people on the sidelines here?
I haven't heard any.
You need this Don't take you down the stairs and get you white nigger!
You get my friend, I'm gonna kick your ass.
Where's Meredith? He's staying on the way to left you. Meredith left you. They've left you, hadn't they? Let me go home! Where's Meredith?
How old are you, Sonny?
Who?
You, how old?
You want to eat this one? This one?
Now, even 10 years ago, nobody would have believed that Negroes from Mississippi would be marching boldly and bravely and honorably along the highways of this state for freedom. I'm glad to see you're doing it now. There is a new Negro in this country.
Now is when we get black sheriffs. That's how we got to stop it. That's what we got to do. We've got to realize the white folk in the state of Mississippi ain't nothing but a bunch of racists. And the only people who can stop them are the black folk in Mississippi. Now we've got to make this march our march. This has got to be the march for the black people in Mississippi. And the only way we can make that our march is that we got to go into every little place and get every black man and black woman, black boy and black girl out who's not afraid. And let's march. And let's make this our Mississippi. It's got to be our Mississippi. Our sweat and blood built Mississippi, and we got to take it over because we deserve to have it. That's what we're working for.
It's apparent that along this Freedom March, some of the white Mississippians who are standing by and watching have even more hatred or dislike for the white civil rights participants than they do for the Negroes who are taking part. Water. It's obvious here that the white Mississippi... Anna, why are you here?
I'm working for SCLC and to make pictures that perhaps can be used in a documentary of this march.
But this is not just a job for you. You're also a supporter, aren't you?
That's right. That's right. I work with SCLC and voter registration in Alabama.
Good in your home, I should think.
Well, I think you have enough to think about and to work at here that you don't need to worry about this. I think some people have been hurt so much in marches that for them it's a more real thing, and some people who have been hurt are more afraid, and so I may just be speaking from lack of experience, but I think a lot of people just think about the work and how important it is and don't worry about what can happen to them.
Do you find it sometimes difficult getting some of the Southern Negroes who are taking part in the movement to trust you as a white person helping them out?
Not very often. Usually they realize by now that you are a civil rights worker, and they say that you have done something for their county. Like I worked in Greene County, Alabama, and the people there said since you came, since civil rights workers came, a lot of things have changed in the county, that the whites just can't go on treating the Negroes the same way, that they are beginning to feel the pressure in politics of the Negro voter.
Okay, now come over to me on a one-shot. Anna Bart, who's taking part here in this almost all-Negro civil rights demonstration. Don Farmer, ABC News on US 51 in northern Mississippi.
Well,
How long have you been playing the clarinet?
This is about my fourth year. Yes, sir.
that's your favorite song.
Yes, sir, except I can't play it.
Yes, you
You're trying pretty good there.
Yeah, I ain't got a read. It's going up.
How old are you, young lady?
I'm 18.
What's your name?
Carol.
What's your name?
I'm going to Chicago now, where I will have to work to mobilize for a massive march that we're having down the 26th of June, and I'll be coming back here on Sunday.
Rolling? You rolling now? We're coming into the outskirts of the town called Senatobia, and that is the end of the march for today. This is the first official day of the march, although it actually began on Monday. Start over again. Begin. Rolling. This parade of freedom marchers has now gone about 7.5 to 8 miles today, and the march is just about over. Up ahead of us, we can see the edge of the town of Senatobia, Mississippi. And that'll be the end of the march for today. Altogether, perhaps 8 miles from the other side of Coldwater. There are about 300, perhaps 350 Negroes and some whites in the march today. There have been few hecklers along the road. There was one incident, a minor incident perhaps, where a pickup truck stopped. Rolling?
All right, move in, everyone. Let's hold it about right here. Start a line across that thing. Get your first man now. Hold the line there.
This is the end of the march, just outside of the town of Senatobia, Mississippi. The marchers have come some 8 miles this afternoon, about 300 strong, mostly Negroes, some whites, and almost as many newspaper, television, and radio reporters. The leaders here, Dr. King of the SCLC, Floyd McKissick of CORE, and the SNCC people are calling their people together here.
Let's have a good freedom song. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Gotta keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom land. Well, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. No papers, turn me around, gotta keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom land. We're not gonna let the hot weather turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. We're not gonna let the hot weather turn me around. We gotta keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom land. Turn me around, I'm gonna keep on marching, keep on talking, marching up the freedom. Gentlemen, we're gonna start a very short rally, a rally for freedom here in the state of Mississippi, symbolic of all of the long bigotry that has been in effect in this state for a terribly long time. One reason that Meredith was marching in Mississippi was an attempt to overcome the fear that's so much a part of this great state. Let me say at this time that there's no more room for fear. We are going... It was very heartening to know that we started out down the road with just a handful of people. And I want you to know that we picked up a mob of people concerned about freedom as we marched down the highway of Mississippi. Just a few feet down the road, an elderly Negro lady stopped me, and she said, "Brother, aren't you afraid?" I said, "No, ma'am." I said, "Are you afraid?" She said, "I don't know." I said, "Well, come get in the march." She got in the march. She's here now. She marched a few yards. I said, "Are you afraid now?" She said, "No, brother, I'm not afraid, and I will not turn back." Amen. At this time, we're going to start with Mr. Stokely Carmichael of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Then we'll go to Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
And that's the end of the march for today here on the outskirts of Senatobia, Mississippi. They plan to start again tomorrow morning, bright and early. Hope to make about 15 miles. Don Farmer, ABC News, outside Senatobia, Mississippi.
And I don't know about everybody else, but I'm tired of marching, see? My good friends, I think that we can be thankful that
that's the end of this march today. A long, hot day here in Mississippi.
that we live
Tomorrow the march will pick up where it left off, just outside Senatobia, Mississippi. And they plan to march another 15 miles tomorrow, perhaps 16 days, but they say they will get to Jackson. This is Don Farmer, ABC News, outside Senatobia, Mississippi.
It's going to be just like a tornado, or it's going to be just like a hurricane. And the time has come when we must seek that freedom. And as James Meredith said, that we got to free every man, every black man that lives across that hill, behind that road, over behind that house, and Tell him that the white people around here who wear uniforms and great big guns are not any bigger than he is.
We've walked down the roads and the highways of Mississippi, and as we have walked by various areas, people have come out to greet us. But as Bob Greene said, many of you joined this march because you were caught up in the spirit of this movement. And we are so deeply moved by your witness. And it tells me once more that you are determined to be free. Now, the other thing I want to say to you is this. Our forebears were slaves for 244 years, right here on the soils of Mississippi and all over the South. And then after the days of slavery, we came to know another kind of slavery called segregation. And all of these things made us feel that we didn't count.
Birmingham, Alabama. Now, in our march, we have to always be careful. There are some people who drive cars and who've been running cars and running Negroes off the streets and in these alleys and swamps for years. We've got to be careful that we're not going to let them provoke us, make us get mad enough to do nothing. We don't want to do nothing but to march for our freedom, because when enough Negroes get together and stand together and walk together, they're going to upset the power structure. The power structure.
Why don't you talk, Fred?
Let us say this in closing. You see, I don't need to hate white folks. I don't need to hate anybody. For you can't build love on hate. I don't believe in all black and I don't believe in all white. I believe in black and white together. And that's how we live. And my heart is big enough to have room enough for everybody else. What the Negroes have got to teach the white people is that there's room enough on God's earth for all of us together. And we've got to keep on marching and keep on getting up to show them that the plantations built on our slave parents' blood, we're going to have to share some of this wealth in Mississippi and Alabama and all over the Deep South. And let's keep marching and don't get weary.
What you remember from the trip to this moment?
It was the first night I was here. I was in chapel, Brown's Chapel, at the first meeting, and a little boy, 6 years old, was standing, and I got him to sit in between me. And you know, you're always searching. You don't know for sure. And he said he had no teeth in the front. And he looked up at me, and he said, "Hey, you scared, Jim Clark?" And I said, "No, not if you're not." And he turned to a Unitarian minister sitting on my left. He said, "You scared of Jim Clark?" He says, "No, if you're not, if you're not." And he looked at me, he said, "Jim Clark hit you, you hit him back?" And I said, "No." I said, "I'll smile at him, and cover my ears, and I'll pray for him." And he looked at me real funny. He looked at the Unitarian, and both of us went deep into our philosophy, you know, trying to figure out show him the nonviolence movement. And he looked at us real funny, and then both of us, and then he looked up. He says, "God will hit him back, huh?"
Oh, I just stated that as usual, the Alabama National Guard's done a wonderful job.
Are your men participating in guarding this march as it goes on?
Observing and advising only.
Are you're going up to the Lowndes County line?
To the Lowndes County line, no further. Couldn't say. And they've never known from one day to the next what to expect.
But your attitude and approach is going to be the same if theirs is, I take it.
Expect the worst and hope for the best.
Sheriff Clark, you heaving a sigh of relief today that all this is moving out of your county now?
I hope it's over, but I doubt it. When Martin Luther King has used us as much as he wants to, then he'll move out.
What about the people who are left behind there now? Are they going to settle down again?
I'm sure that the local people will.
Mm-hmm. You think it's all been due to outsiders?
I think it's definitely been due to outsiders. I noticed yesterday in the march, a group of my friends and I stood there and we were able to count 5 local Negroes in the whole march.
Do you think there are many communists in this procession?
I think it's possibly made up of 1/4 communists and 1/2 pro-communist.
Do you think the press and the media here have made things worse than they need have been?
I think yes, very definitely yes. I think if the news media had pulled out of town, all of them would have left immediately.
Well, how come you let us stay around as long as you did?
Well, I have no control over you.
Thank you very much, Sheriff.
Frankly, some of you I like very well. I know that you're down here and have jobs to do.
And you too, Sheriff.
Sheriff, what's your thought on the apparent differences between you and Wilson Baker in handling these demonstrators?
I'd rather not mention that. I think Mayor Smitherman and I have been close friends for a long time. Now, we have cooperated 100% lately. For the last 2 weeks, we've been very close together.
Mm-hmm. You don't think they've been too soft on the demonstrators then?
I would say that the mayor is, well, I'd rather not speak. I think this as a whole, I think that we have been forced to enforce the laws of the state of Alabama, and if that's being, I don't understand why the laws are still on the books. I think that they should have protested to the legislature rather than come up and protested to me about the laws that are on the books.
Well, you're not implying that the city police have not been hard enough in enforcing the law, are you?
I'd rather not mention the city police. Mayor Smitherman and I see things pretty much alike.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Sheriff, there was a report that there were some...
What your people are up to and how you've...
You know what? Shooting sound.
Cold, hungry, tired, despondent. We were out of the zone.
Oh, yeah. Either way, whatever.
Right. Dr. King, how are you holding up on this march?
Well, I'm doing very well. I said yesterday, and I still say today, that the experience is so great and the inner feeling of reward is so marvelous that the outer aches that come along the way as a result of this long walk are really forgotten. All but a brief period tomorrow. I will have to go to Cleveland for a long-standing commitment that we were not able to cancel, and then I'll come right in late tomorrow night and be back for the march Wednesday.
Governor Wallace's office reportedly has said the governor will not have anything to do with the marchers when they arrive.
Well, we did not totally expect cooperation from Governor Wallace. We'd hoped that a committee could see him, and we will still try to get this done. But if he doesn't see us in that way, he will see us in the sense that this witness is so clear that it will be impossible for him to miss seeing this great testimony and this great expression of the determination of Negroes in Alabama and of people all over this country to make freedom and justice realities.
What is the next step after this march?
Well, it's a twofold job. First, we've got to work for a quick passage of the Civil Rights Bill, the voting bill that is before Congress, and then the big job of going into the counties all over the Black Belt and getting people to turn out in large numbers. So it's a big organizational job, a big job of political education, and this we expect to do with vigor and determination.
How do you feel about the protection being given you on this march?
I think this is a real demonstration of the commitment of the federal government to protect the constitutional rights of Negro citizens. The protection has been very thorough, as you can see, and the men are working under the guidance and certainly under the power and influence of the federal government to see that things are carried out in an orderly manner. So I think that everybody has to recognize that this symbolizes a new commitment and a new determination on the part of the federal government to take the kind of vigorous line that will assure the rights of the Negro citizens of this nation.
We still got a problem with you. And if we hadn't sent those 200 back, we just can't have 600, 700 people. And you got 100 working.
At least 100 workmen down there already.
Jim, I suppose you welcome this rest break.
Yes, I do. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. I'm hurting.
How much do you weigh?
180, and I wish I could lose 30 of it real quick.
You will. Do you think this pair of crutches will hold up?
No.
Get you to Montgomery?
As you can see, they're starting to get loose now in the nuts and the handles and everything. They're going to give me an aluminum pair from Montgomery, they said. Be a little lighter.
Your home is in Saginaw, Michigan. When this march is over, what do you hope to go back and say to the people in that area?
I'm taking the young SNCC director, Lewis Miller, back home with me, and we're going to organize a SNCC in our hometown, so we'll have a militant group in Saginaw.
How old were you when you lost your leg?
I'm really not sure. I was either 9 or 10. My mother fell off a chair before I was born, and it caused a tumor on my leg. And I spent 8 or 9 years in the hospital before they finally took it off. I don't remember the details. It's something like $1 million, you know. You never had it and you think about it, but, you know, you get along pretty good without it.
How would you describe this movement that you're participating in? Does that fall somewhere in that same category? Something you've never had and you're seeking?
I think so. Yes, and in fact, I'm not really seeking anymore. I think I know a lot of the answers. I don't know all the answers, but I think love is the answer. And again, I sometimes may the grace to go all the way, and maybe some of the people, we won't hear that cliche up north and out west and east. The time isn't right yet, and the time is right now. I think if you ask Dr. Reeves, Jimmy Lee Jackson, or any of those guys, all the way back to Emmett Till, they'll tell you the time is right now.
What would you say to people who are not participating in this march?
I'd like to ask them to pray for me that I can make it. And if there's atheists listening or sane, pray to whoever atheists pray to. Because I'm going to need prayers to make it. Derogatory at Jim Clark because I believe he's probably basically a good man. I mean, we're all products of our environment and different things along that way. And I think Clark and Baker's, look how far this guy has come just in the little time we've been here. Before I started, you know, I said, God bless you for being such a good man. And he says, I'll pull for you.
Jim, you only have a short time left in the rest period. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you.
Sister Olin, we have now come about 16 miles in this trip. Do you feel you're going to be able to make the entire 50 miles to Montgomery?
I think so. It's a nice, slow pace, and there's plenty of opportunity if you had to fall out.
What has been your most rewarding experience? Sister Olin, what has been your most rewarding experience thus far on the trip?
Well, I would say being with people, mixing in with them, talking to them, feeling this spirit of love and unity that's among them. I'd say that was the thing that's most inspiring to me.
Do you feel that when this march is completed that you will be able to return to Kansas City with a greater understanding and be more capable and more able because of this march to carry out your beliefs that you have maintained for so long?
I certainly think anything like this, as I said before, that makes us better people, makes us more united, is certainly going to help influence other people. Certainly going to do more.
Was there any sense of, was there a feeling last evening that since the march had gone so well to that point, that all doubts seemed to be removed that it would be the success that it was designed to be?
I never knew there was a doubt. I thought that from the beginning they seemed to have that spirit of courage, and there didn't seem to be any doubt or fear that it wasn't going to be successful. At least I didn't get that from anyone.
How many people from the Kansas City area are here in the march?
There are only 4 right now. A large group plans to come in Wednesday for the final march to Montgomery, and we had a group here last week. Quite a good number of people who returned last Sunday. from here.
You just arrived in Selma yesterday prior to the march. You probably had in your mind what the situation was like. Was the situation in Selma as you thought it would be when you arrived?
Well, I had heard a great deal about the attitudes in Selma from people who had been here and, others who had heard about it. And I guess it's about what we expected. We weren't there too long. We did go back last night to the hospital to stay there in Selma. And it's well policed and patrolled and troopers. There don't seem to be too many incidents going on right now.
Were you out on the streets last night, or have you been on the streets of Selma alone any since you arrived?
No, when we first arrived, we came from the airport into the city by cab, and then we had to walk alone for a while, the four from our group. But we went through a strictly Negro neighborhood, and there didn't seem to be any antagonism until we joined the line of march. And then since then, the only time I've been in Selma, I've been with 2, 3-car caravans and at the hospital, the Good Samaritan Hospital there. So
Are you apprehensive about...
No, not at all. No, sir.
Thank you, Sister Olin.
Okay, thank you.
Can we go on up here?
Can we follow here?
Follow him, yeah.
Follow him, follow him.
Oh, well, now.
If I do a piece in